Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald may have had its flaws, but there's one character that's gaining a lot of support from fans everywhere, and that is Gellert Grindelwald. In my opinion, Johnny Depp plays him exquisitely. I love his overly calm approach to literally every scene he appears in. Nothing seems to surprise him. He always seems to be expecting the worst. And I particularly love the scene where he walks the street in Paris so casually as if he just owns the city. But what I found more interesting than the character is his message, his goal, and how incredible he seems to be at convincing not just his fellow wizards in his world to join him, but the audience watching too. So is Grindelwald the likable villain? Well, I'll be addressing that topic in today's video, along with one small problem I found with the blood pact between Albus Dumbledore and Gellert Grindelwald. So let's take a look. So I've seen the movie twice now, and yeah, it's got some flaws, but it is a setup movie. An in-between movie. Basically, this isn't the film that's going to be remembered of the series. Anyway, regardless of this movie's reception, there's many questions that simply won't be answered for another 2 years. One thing I really loved was Gellert Grindelwald's character. The man is so different to Voldemort. He's a completely different villain. He's actually likeable. The thing with Voldemort is he's pure evil. He despised muggles and everything non-magical. He took pleasure in torturing and killing people. He enjoyed it, and although the Dark Lord's goal was to purify the wizarding world, his personal goal of living forever always came first. He had no value for life in general but his own, and was genuinely a psychotic, heartless, evil man. That's Voldemort. That's a villain you just have to hate. He gives you so many reasons to dislike him, and more reasons to cheer Harry on. However, I didn't find that was the case with Gellert Grindelwald. You see, Gellert is not looking to achieve immortality. He's not got the desire to want to torture people just for pleasure. He's above that, far above it, and above Voldemort too. And I think he displayed his disgust at the man Voldemort was when he refused to tell him the location of the Elder Wand, laughing in his face. Not an ounce of respect for the most powerful dark wizard to ever walk the earth, or basically his replacement, so to speak. Not that I believe Grindelwald would agree with such a title either. Gellert Grindelwald had a goal, a mission. For too long has his race, the magical race, been forced to live in the shadows, to follow a set of rules that the Muggle or No-Maj race will be alerted to an existence of any kind but their own. That the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy is an outdated, inconsiderable disgrace of an agreement between governments of the wizarding world. Why should the more powerful race be forced to hide? After so many atrocities that the Muggles have caused, like World War I for example, amongst many other wars over the centuries, the sheer amount of death and destruction from that war anyway decimated many countries, most of which were still recovering during the time frame of the first 2 movies. Hundreds of thousands of killings each year from the use of guns and other deadly weapons. And yes, there is much dispute and fighting amongst the magical folk, that is not being denied, but the sheer amount of Muggle death seen is due to them valuing themselves so little as a race. Whereas Grindelwald believes in his race. The magical race are the rarest of souls according to him. Souls with a beautiful gift that should not have to hide by any means. Grindelwald doesn't hate Muggles like Voldemort. He just wants a world where he no longer has to hide. Gellert has felt like this for a very long time, for most of his life. However, it was through his close friendship with Albus Dumbledore that their ideas were about to be put in motion. Together as a duo, they would gain followers across the globe, break the Statute of Secrecy, and take back the wizarding dominance of the earth. Now, I never fully get on board with Dumbledore basically being one half creator of this outrageous plan, but it's true, and I've mentioned this in a previous video. Albus Dumbledore, but for the death of his sister Ariana, would be standing right alongside Grindelwald, and honestly, if that were the case, they would have won. I think both he and Gellert know that, which makes the what if thoughts all the more bitter for Gellert, and all the more resentful for Albus on what he was prepared to do. Now, the thing is, I sat and I watched the movie, and even afterwards I found myself wondering why I sympathised with Grindelwald so much, why I was cheering him on secretly, and then it hit me. I agreed with him, his beliefs, and fighting for the ratification of the wizarding world, putting himself in the front line, no hiding. This person wanted to change the way the world was run. Now, I'm from a country that had to fight for independence. Hundreds of brave men died for a free country that I have today. So to see someone try to make the same change for his own race, I found it relatable. If I were a wizard living in such a world, being forced to hide, I would probably have joined Grindelwald too. However, in saying that, I don't agree with his methods of killing people. Unlike Voldemort, who had no value for life, Grindelwald was slightly different. He had no value for those who weren't useful to his cause or those who got in the way. The man allowed the murder of an innocent baby, not because he wanted to or took joy from it, but because he had not the time nor desire to aid the baby in any way. Therefore, the most humane way in his eyes was disposing of the child with the killing curse. This is Grindelwald's own justification for the necessary sacrifices that must be made in order to achieve a free and open wizarding world. The greater good is the phrase coined by he and Albus Dumbledore, not just to portray their own beliefs, but for the reassurance of those who may feel guilty for any harm they've done. I can imagine Gellert saying something like, "Everything you've done, though it may be distasteful, undesirable, and unpleasant, is all done for the greater good of the wizarding world." Can you imagine how easy he can manipulate those loyal to him with such a phrase? Now, I've mentioned a phrase or motto was created by Grindelwald and Dumbledore. Both of these men were truly on the same page, were daring enough to challenge the rule of law but never each other, and they swore it through a magical blood pact. Now, this is highlighted beautifully in the movie, and it's one of the scenes that I really think they get right. You can really feel the on-screen chemistry, even but for a few mere seconds, between both actors. Now, this pact means that both wizards swore never to fight each other by the unification of one drop of blood from each person. It's apparently the sole reason that Albus cannot move against him. However, I've got one small issue with the pact. Dumbledore and Grindelwald have already fought each other. After making the pact, if I'm correct, they had the three-way duel with Aberforth that resulted in the death of Ariana Dumbledore. So how can they both fight one another right after swearing by blood that they wouldn't? This appears to be a somewhat contradiction, but it can be easily fixed if the wording is correct. Maybe it's not that they swore never to fight each other, but instead the pact was that they would never kill each other. Remember, wording is very important when it comes to spells. So, if this is worded correctly, I think JK can avoid yet another contradiction in further Fantastic Beasts movies. Unlike the Unbreakable Vow, it seems as though this vial containing both wizards' blood can be broken or opened, meaning the spell could be undone. And I believe it's clear as day that this is going to happen in future movies, but it may not happen until the final movie where the famous 3-hour duel occurs. I also believe Dumbledore will use the spell's undoing as a weapon with the element of surprise, as Grindelwald won't see it coming when his former friend could start dueling him aggressively without any explanation, completely out of nowhere. But that all remains to be seen in the future movies to come. So guys, with that being said, I want to know your own opinions on Gellert Grindelwald as a character. Were you like me and were secretly cheering him on? And did you find him relatable? Did you find his message relatable? And do you believe that because he's appeared so relatable in this movie, that making him more sadistic or evil in future movies will just be another flaw for the franchise and his character? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever. So please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do. It's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content. So if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDeanJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.